morning, good afternoon, evening, wherever you are around the world. You're welcome to another episode of our show, The Home We Built. With me here is Dr. Wujori and Mrs. Titilaya Kintade, and my name is Titilaya Debanjo. I hope you have another wonderful time as we deliberate and share our opinions and suggestions and counsels on marriage, relationships, and everything in between. So today there's another clip that we will be listening to, and it will be the foundation for our discussion. We might have more, but let's listen to it.
For the parent, I would say it is very important in this separation process to decide what relationship you want to have with the child. Do you want to be a caring parent besides being, a wife or a husband? Do you want to be a father to that child? Or do you just want to be a friend that comes once or twice to go for ice cream? Or do you just not want anything at all? Do not just ghost, completely just go off without really cementing what the relationship you want with a child. You might be thinking, that child is just 6 years old. They are not really going to know anything. But just a little word of, hey, buddy, I'm here, I'm just going to be living somewhere else, is all they need to begin that healing process. And they need to see the amount of importance that you have in a child's consciousness, no matter the age. It could be 22, it could be 6. But either way, we see the world in a different light than just the parents. We have our own side. And in most cases, both of your sides we know. And we are not just silent contributors to the fact.
Dr. Wujari, we have heard this young lady. What would you say? Like what do you think about what she
Yeah,
just
so I think it's talking about what happens when there is separation and uh, parents need to decide what level of involvement they want to have in the life of their children. And I think it's bringing the question forward that when there is separation, the children are the ones mostly affected. Of course, everybody is affected, but then I think the question is how do the parents handle the issue, because like the parents are having issues between themselves, but then in most instances are they also having issues with the children? Probably not. But then because it's like you hate to go to a city but your friend is in that city, so what happens? Do you say, okay, I don't go to see my friend? Because so for me, I think it's a question of the parents trying to let go of whatever is pulling them apart for the sake of the children and say, okay, what exactly do we want to do for our children? So, and I also heard her say, like, it's either they decide whether they want to be involved as a father, as a friend, or not at all. Not being involved at all, for me, I think it's a dereliction of duty, because you brought these children into the world. And if things don't work out between the mother and the father, that child still requires a lot of support, a lot of love and care.
That's right.
And interestingly, I was talking about a movie on Netflix where somebody, grew up to become a serial killer actually. But when they were tracing it, they saw that it has a kind of psychological effect coming from, things that happen. Yeah, the father not being there didn't really. So he kind of felt like he didn't have anybody for him.
That's right.
He also felt that he didn't have. Everybody was trying to have more control on him. So his reaction was basically him trying to say, "I can't have control over people too."
That's right.
And he did it in a very, very, very painful way.
I definitely agree with you, Dr. Wujari. Unfortunately, we have fathers, mothers, because it's not just fathers. I know she alluded to fathers, like generally research supporting, like the fact that, it's usually the father that elopes, but it does happen, sometimes it's the mother too.
Yeah, that happens
Yeah,
too.
sometimes it's the mothers. But we have to know that we play a significant role in bringing these children to this world. I mean, like, that's we are all that they know most of the time, and the family as a unit, that's where the nurturing is supposed to start from. But so when one leaves, because there's this constant friction, be it abuse to that extent, or be it just the fact that we don't complement each other, or we are not compatible, and let everybody go amicably. It is important, it is imperative that parents should be able to say this is moving forward, even though we are not in relationship together, but our children, the union of this relationship, how do we respond, or how do we take care of them, and what role, you know that will be in an ideal world, right? In an ideal world, but we know that the world is not ideal, or not always ideal, so it's maybe, if it's due to to abuse, if it's due to violence in the house. Most of the time, I said something this week, and I was talking to a friend, and I said, abuse to your spouse is abuse to your child. So many times, the person that is the victim and the perpetrator of this is they both are not in the right frame of mind oftentimes, especially I would say the perpetrator. The perpetrator is not in the right thinking, because if you're perpetrating abuse, any form of abuse on your spouse, you have to know the impact of that on your child. So in a situation where there's at the end of the day, the divorce or the separation takes place, they might not be they don't want to have anything to do most of the time with the child, or they don't even know how, or they are using the child as a tool to even if
weaponizing the
exactly
child.
weaponizing the child like that. So it's unfortunate, but it does happen. I feel I understand what she's saying, and I definitely concur with the fact that come on, parents, we can sit, we are still parents, even if we are not spouses, we are still parents.
Yeah, the question is we need to ask ourselves is,
yes.
She mentioned that why will the parents ghost your child or your children when an issue happens in the home? Yes. Why will you ghost? Oh, I don't have anything to do with my wife again, or I don't have anything to do with my husband again.
Yeah.
So because of that, I close door against my children.
Yes.
So why would you do that? It's just lack of responsibility. So many are using that as an excuse, maybe to have a financial support or moral support or emotional support for that child or for that children.
Yes.
For the children. So it's just lack of responsibility on their own part. And later on, maybe that child or the children, maybe they are successful now, you want to claim the title. You want to claim the road that, oh, after all, I was the one that brought you to this world.
That's right.
So, there was a day that I was just, when my issue happened, that I was in the cyber cafe, and this guy was looking at me. He had my discussion, and he was just trying to talk to me, and he said that for 27 years, their father abandoned them. Yes. That he was like 1 year old when the father abandoned them, when he left. So he came back, and he begged the family, they begged the woman, because she refused to remarry. So she took him back. But to the children, the man is just like a stranger.
Absolutely.
And he said, okay, he has lost all the valuable time that is supposed to capture in their life. That the time that they are suffering for this and that, schooling, and now he's just like a stranger. And at the end, he had to leave the home because he could not cope. Even despite that fact that all of them they embrace him, they welcome him.
Yeah, there's no more
No
sense
more
of
connection,
belonging,
yeah, no
kind
more
of-
connection
no.
between them.
That's
So the guy was now discussing with me that, see, whoever in any part, whether it is the mom or the dad, that you left your children
Yes.
for whatever reason, so you've lost significant time that you can never
gain back.
gain back.
You know, and that brings me back to, you know, what I normally, you know, like will allude to, you know, culture, because you know, we have a culture of from generation to generation, you know, when things happen like this and there's a dissolution of marriage and the father or the dad just elopes, there is a saying that, you know, that's when the child grows up, he or she will look for the father, will know the father. And so the men are exonerated from carrying their responsibility, their own share of the responsibility of raising an adult, with the mindset that when the child grows up, he's gonna come back, or they are gonna come back, and the expectation is that you forgive your father. Oh, yeah, but he's still your dad. Forgive your dad. Everybody will, there's no problem about forgiving, you know. Yeah, we do it at different timings, and I don't think there should be a measure of time. Okay, yeah, say forgive, say sorry, I'm sorry. Okay, daddy, I embrace you. That is not it. That is very, very superficial. But even if the child forgives you, don't you think how do you sit down with them to what are you gonna be, what is the connection? What are you gonna be talking about?
And that's a very valid argument, because what makes a father and a son, a mother and a son, a father and a daughter, whatever relationship, is shared experience. Is shared experience. Of course, for people that are hurting in one way or the other, forgiveness helps to heal. But there are some things that once one has lost them.
You cannot.
For example, somebody left the child when he was 2 years and came back when the child is 35. You can, the child will forgive or always encourage, but then you cannot remember, the child can't remember. There are some things that are as a function of natural consequence. For example, parents who were working all their life and they still have to take their children for sport. They still have to, there is a time you go to bargaining, you fall down together, and you know, those are memories that any parent should treasure. So if somebody gets absent for any reason, and probably because of reasons like, well, later, and I remember a story during several years ago, about 20-something years ago, during the National Youth Service in Nigeria. This lady told a story of how she didn't know who her father was. But the person who raised her, she was like in her 20s when they told her that person was not your father. And he said, look, let them say whatever they say, that is actually my father.
There we go.
This is a man that paid my school fees. When I went through troubles, this guy would cry with me.
This is the one I know.
This was the person I knew. So you can't come and tell me and say, okay, somebody came from somewhere and say, okay, that's your father, and you expect me to put my allegiance away from this person. Say, on the day I'm getting married, this is the person I want to walk into the altar.
Amen to that.
Because this was the person that was in my life.
That's right.
Yes.
It takes, being a dad and being a father, sometimes they are two different things.
That's right.
A father is somebody that, fathers.
That's right.
A dad, it takes just being a man to be a dad.
Exactly, to be a dad. That's right.
Yeah.
But a father is somebody who actually goes out for the person.
Yes.
Even if the marriage didn't work out, a lot of men still do that.
Yes.
A lot of women still, they will still look after, cater
Absolutely.
for.
Even more so then, because I think, when the marriage doesn't work out, now you have to know the devastation that is on those children. Many children carry the burden of, and the cause of their marriage breaking apart. They do carry this guilt, which they shouldn't, because they are only
It's not
their
their fault.
children. It's
Yeah.
never their fault.
Yeah.
But practically, they do. So they already have that. And now you eloping out of their life, just ghosting
Making
them
it
out
worse.
and just walking away, and you think you can just go procreate another
Another
some
family.
other place, and that's it. No, it is not that. That's not it. You are causing havoc in the life of these children, because I had a man of God, a preacher, American preacher. He's R.C. Blake, and he talks about the father wound. The father wound is very real. When I heard that, I was like, okay, it is real. Children whose fathers walk out of their life as a result of, okay, marriage did not work, they walk out for whatever reason, you walk out of your child's life. There's this emptiness in the child, be it the male child or the female child. The emptiness is there that cannot be filled by the mother. The role a mother plays is different. The role that a father plays is different. Let's not mix it together. I cannot be the father and be the mother at the same time. So that role, the child is looking for who is going to fill this role. There's that longing for that father. There's that cry for the mother, because there's a mother wound too. And that's that if we do not, or they are not able to find a replacement, which is usually very difficult, from the story you told. Thank God that there was a father figure, a dad, a father. I mean, like all of this for this young woman. And you can imagine what she would have turned out to be, or who she would have turned out to be as a result of that significant male figure in her life. But many children, not every child has that opportunity. So that emptiness is there, and they are looking to fill this void in places in where they shouldn't in the first place. So as a father, if you call yourself a father, no, I want to address our audience. You call yourself a father and you walk out of your child's life. Does the title actually resonate with you? Does that title, do you really think it befits you? Because I don't think so, and I don't think any of my
and of course, if we invite it also, the same thing goes for mothers.
The mothers too.
So mothers also work hard.
Absolutely. But that title doesn't fit you.
And she talked about responsibility. I mean, simply the person is not being responsible.
And responsibility is not just sending child support. Even if you're doing that,
you have to be involved.
Sending child support. You have to be actively involved. Be there. Even if like we said the last time we did our show, that there is a custody. The government gives you custody. Even if there is no the government coming into you can make things and say, okay, for this time period, I want to have access to the child, and the mother or the father should allow that. You cannot take that away from your children. Let me address that again, please. When marriages fail, and the mother or the father thinks, okay, I'm going to use this child against you, whatever, you are not doing your ex-partner. You are just doing, it's the children that are going to pay the price. The children should have access to their father. If he wants to have access to them, they should have access to their mother. It is not negotiable. As long as they are not causing harm or havoc to the children. As long as they are not using the children as a bait to get at their ex. Because you can do that too. So it's a complicated issue. It shouldn't be, but it is, because then you have to look at it from the point of view of these children. They are the ones that pay the huge, they lose a lot. I just want to say that they lose a lot, and we need to do better. As parents, we need to do better. Whether your marriage works or not, as long as there's a child that came out of that relationship, be up to it. Be responsible. You don't have to talk to your ex. You don't have to. I don't have to talk to my ex, but you can still be in his children's life. playing a positive role, not using them against me, or me using using them against him.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And in summary, we are going to give account of whatever things that we do.
Absolutely.
The life of those children,
Mhm.
if because of your abandonment, lack of communication to these children, they end up being on the streets or committing any form of atrocity, everything we're going to give account of it.
That's right.
Because in as much that God has said that we should go into the world and preach the gospel, right? To win souls. So if you cannot win the souls of your children and you are there, and it's so funny that there are some that they abandon their children and they are preaching to lost souls. So all of us were going to give accounts
That's right.
on that.
Yes.